so problem solved, right? No. I walk away, I get all the buses out, and I'm getting the buses out, I'm doing my dance up there, and let's go, let's go, let's go. I turn around and guess who's there? She did a U-turn right in the lane and came back out. So, yeah, come on. Off she goes, I couldn't get her, no problem. So the next day I coached and said, hey, you know, you did an open book on me, and, you know, I mean, everybody else is following the rules except for you. So how do we get you to follow the rules? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Today you learn. Today you know. So she's following protocols. Now she's doing what she's supposed to be doing. So it's just a matter of getting the word out. I think that we're all trying to do the best that we can to make sure that things go smooth. And for the most part, I mean, there is going to be a wait. There's a lot of people dropping off, a lot of kids, and I see a lot of those buses slightly empty. So with that being said, there's a lot of cars. So there's going to be a little traffic. I'm going to do my best to get them in there as fast as I can. You know, I don't give preference to some more than others. If I see someone that works in school, I give them preference. My frequent flyers, I give some preference. But for the most part, it's, you know, 10 cars here, 10 cars over there. Try to make it as even as I can for everyone. Bob, anything else you'd like to?
Is there a way we can address this communication?
I think we sent out emails periodically, and sometimes they're ignored, and sometimes it's a different offender.
Emails on the issue with the parking, I mean, we're dropping off?
We can try it again, we've tried it.
At the beginning of the year, we didn't get one? I can't remember.
I went out because Bob came to me, after you and I had that conversation, I addressed Bob, and Bob came to me and said, hey, listen, we're taking care of that. So last I knew, he was on top of that. Some parents just...
The only thing that went out was a picture that shows the area in a little color, but no explanation that they're actually supposed to get out of the car.
Have you had an opportunity to do like a district facility safety review about like, what's missing, what we need as far as?
Yeah, we come up with a couple things. One of the ones that I think was, we're still working on with it, is putting some identifiers on the doors, and putting identifiers on the outside. And I heard that someone didn't particularly care for the idea, but it's paramount for safety. I don't know the school entirely. I think I'm getting grasp of it, and I've been here since August. So could you imagine those when the troop is called? You know, God forbid you get an active shooter guys in here with a guitar, and he comes in here and he's going to do whatever he's going to do. I call in and I ask him, hey, we need you to come in to section 5 or letter A. Well, they get here, they don't know, they don't mind, they don't know where they're going, they don't know how to identify the building. And this building is huge. Oh, section 8, that must be over by middle school. No, you're supposed to be over here in high school. It can get a little bit confusing. So with that being said, we talked about maybe numbering the doors and numbering certain sections. So if I say, hey, they're in section A, but that guy's in section A, they can come, look at the map or look at the building and go, section A, there it is. And they can go right to the threat. Makes sense to me.
Any thoughts of doing actual training, active shooter training with the response team so that they be like?
I don't know about the response team, that would take a collaborative effort.
I mean, I guess
together.
what I'm saying is, not that you do it, but if that's something that you think about, recommending a plan,
Absolutely.
perhaps on a weekend or after hours or
We
something, if the team wants to.
Actually, we talked about it, if you will, this past lockdown, we talked about an active shooter. An active shooter comes in, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Should we have shades on the window? I said, yes, we should have shades on the window so that they can't see in. They can't see in, it's their guess whether there's somebody there or not.
Which training are you guys using for lockdowns and things like that?
Which training do you guys use? Because the training that I have, I go to an SRO school, and training that I've had prior to through NASRO,
Yeah.
National Organization of School Resource Officer. Plus our updates, every police officer gets an update on active shooting. They have to, it's a mandate in order for you to be a police officer. So that's what we utilize, and those ideas I bring back, and we try and implement them.
Do you use any of the Alice training, or do we use any of that here?
Alice?
No, we're using the state emergency response training.
So some of the things Rick has done is he's reviewed our security plan. As a matter of fact, it's out with the various departments being
Yeah.
signed, and we're just waiting for that to come back so we
It's
can submit it.
It's fine, it's just, it's just different. You can look it up on YouTube or whatever, it's like the girl's name, Alice, but it's just, it's a lot of, it's different than a lot of what everybody was taught in that big thing at the Aqua Turf after Newtown and everything. There's just been a lot of thinking and there's work going on. There is work going on statewide.
There's
I'm not
different
recommending, it
factions.
was just a question.
Of that. In fact, I know that, okay, Columbine, they came out with something, and then,
Yeah.
and then Newtown, they revamped it, it came out with
Yeah, no,
something
this is,
different.
it's worth just checking out just for your own, whatever, it's YouTube free, you can see some of it, and it's just a whole different way, it's like, you know, instead of kids hiding, throwing stuff and disarming people, it's just, and I'm not suggesting it, I'm
That's,
just
that's
sharing.
one of the, that's one of the suggestions that we spoke about.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
we spoke about, hey, listen, this is a glass door, it isn't that hard to break that glass
yeah,
and get in. If they come in, what are we gonna do? And we talked about, hey, active shooter, at such and such place. You know, we talked about during a lockdown, doing a drill where I open the door and I act like I'm coming in, okay, I'm in. And when I come in, everyone should be ready to.
this is, research-based and things, it's worth looking at, that they studied and research-based and it's data-based and like what works, and I won't do it justice, so, and I don't know enough about it, but it's just worth just looking at to even if you don't think it's good, just to see it, I think is worth looking at.
So I want to get back to Mrs. Demania's question, she had a couple of questions, but if you need collaboration or from the board or whatever, or engagement, Bob, with other agencies to plan something so that, like you said, if a team has to come into this campus, at least they've been in here and they've drilled and they've seen it, and maybe they understand, like you said, where Wing 5 is or building that, whatever it is, so that they can plan and do their tactical planning.
The issue with that is that the new protocol, we don't, with the active shooter, we don't wait for,
Understand.
for swap like
Right,
they used
you're
to.
the first one.
Right,
you're-
first come, first served, you, and you too, let's go.
Yeah.
So it could be someone from Troop H that
Yeah.
happens to be working overtime, all right, let's go.
Right.
Nobody would know, so that's why we say, you know, mark the door so that they know.
Right.
That's fine.
So, is there, a mechanism to put the Rham map up on some kind of a screen, like on the computer, so when you guys are punching in your computer and you put Rham as the
Well,
map come up?
that's gonna be part of their, when whoever is responding, they're gonna create or start a command center. In that command center, they're gonna pop out, all kinds of maps for the high school, map for the middle school. Hopefully, we can incorporate all the sections that we have placed so that, you know, once they pull it out, they'll go, okay, these are the maps, this is where we are, section A is in the southeast corner. So they'll have all that, that'll be part of their emergency plan in the command center, so that it's part of their preparation, if you will.
And so they have access to that already?
They should.
Yes, we've provided maps to like the Troop K and to the emergency response
Correct.
teams.
In the past, there has been, it's been several years ago, that they had a comprehensive safety study done, and numerous recommendations came down, and I don't know that we've followed through with all the recommendations. It was my understanding when you were coming on board that you were gonna be like overseeing this, like, so, I was wondering, is this something that you are willing to do, or I don't know if you've been asked to do it, but like a comprehensive safety study, I mean, we had, I think there was safety, and there was fire fire people, and there was whatever. They all came in and they put their heads together, came up with these list of recommendations, but it's been many years.
And one of the things that he's done for us this year, you see it in the new budget, is, I think it's an $8,000 item, he had to put the shades on the windows. We've done some relocking of refuge areas for, something should happen in the cafeteria. We do these things on a needs basis as they're recommending, and after each lockdown, or, there are new recommendations that come out, we try to implement them.
I think the shades are controversial too right now, and that's why this Atlas thing, I'm just sharing, there's a lot of stuff coming up statewide again, to your point about.
Well, in my training, I don't know if it is controversial or not, in my training, shades are required because you don't want
Yeah.
anybody seeing.
Yeah.
I can't say that it isn't, that some
Yeah.
people have a different school
Right.
of thought, but the reality is
Right.
that, that is a training that we get. Turn off all your computers, turn off anything that can illuminate anything, and put a shade on that, or a poster or something so that they can't see. Let them decide whether someone's there or not. If they can see it, they know it, they're gonna go in. If they can't see it, it's a 50-50 chance.
So about this comprehensive study, it doesn't sound like that a study is being commissioned at this point in time where you're
What
having.
we did is we had the safety and security, Ricky worked on the safety and security plan with us. We're working, our next step is to nominate the doors, and then whatever comes out of the next lockdown, I haven't seen that, those recommendations.
If you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
yeah.
So, do you see value in that? Because I'm thinking that if you have a study done, then you have everybody come together, and then he can spearhead like the implementation. But if it's piecemeal, you guys might miss something.
Right.
And
And I think,
see, what we're doing is taking the recommendations that are made and then implementing them. I agree with you that we need to take a better look at the whole building, because I think that as we put some things.
Just to make this discussion short, we have that full report. You're right, no, it is, we've seen the report. You've obviously had a lot of success so far, and you're working on some other items. I think two things, my recommendation would be, and if anybody else, some kind of way, we do need to update that security assessment. I don't know if it's the state or if it's a consultant or someone who comes in to do it, but someone needs to update that assessment to let us know where are we now and what are the standards, because like you said, and I know this just from my own professional experience, just like Judy mentioned, there have been so many changes in active shooter drills now at different levels in education, universities, towns, buildings, the federal government. There's this whole Run, Hide, or Fight initiative that's being talked about.
Yes, in fact, I was writing something the other day on this, but yes, you're absolutely right, there is. And I think that the administration, along with Bob and myself, we have been working on stuff like that, and that's where the shades come in. That's where that comes in. The whole flight or fight situation is something that I was writing up just recently, because that's part of the training that we get. And you're right, it has gone into where, as opposed to just hide and become sitting ducks, now it's, if that threat comes through the door,
That's right, yeah,
you give them holy hell.
yeah, so it's
You know,
judging the
so-
situation.
So,
Yeah,
to say that, yeah, we are doing that, or better yet,
yeah,
that is something that I've been working on to implement with them. In fact, we spoke about it on this last lockdown drill.
right,
We spoke about the fact that, maybe we can't, to do a mock active drill in the school with the kids, well, I don't know, maybe some of the parents might not really like that. There's a guy walking around with a guitar, and you're calling out what section he's at. That could potentially frighten the kid or whatever. So what do? So then what we do is we train the teachers, because, to be quite honest, I don't think that all the teachers here know exactly what to do. And if there's certain things that, okay, we know that we have to do this, that, and the third, but at a moment's notice, when it gets hot and the water starts to boil, people panic.
Yep.
And, you find yourself, oh my God, what do we do? I don't even remember what I'm supposed to do. So you start training the teachers first.
No, understood, and I don't want to make this go any further than we have to. I guess what Mrs. Donadio is saying is important, and the board is that we have a report from a state officer or group of people that came through 5 years ago and said.
Do you know who they were?
Yeah, that was
State
Homeland,
Security.
yep, they're Homeland Security officers, and
And
it would be ideal to bring them in now since we've addressed most of those
And
issues.
that's the point, I
Yeah.
think that what she's saying. They gave us a report 5 years ago and said, you should be doing all these things. Well, I can tell you, one of the things that we decided was hiring an SRO. That took us 2.5 to 3 years to actually come up with the idea and the funding and the approvals to get it, to make it happen. So, and part of that function on that 5-year-old report was to, in your capacity, to try to help us address those items and how the best way to get to them. But I think those have changed. You've done a lot of things that are probably on that list, or now would be on the list if the assessment was done. Now, that may not have been thought of 5 years ago, knowing all the data that we have now, sadly, from each and every one of these incidents nationwide. So I think to put a cap on it, I guess, is somehow, some way, we need to update that assessment, whether it's the same people, whatever, but just so that we make sure, like Amy said, we're doing things that you've identified that are important, and I'm sure they would probably be on that report, but there may be things on the other report that are not getting addressed that may still be here that we're just not aware of, and it's just important to see it and make sure that we're working towards some goal that you can check off, the superintendent can check off, the administration can check off, and say, yes, we've done these things, and the state has come through, and this is our plan, and this is how.
I think, officer, though, you said something important, is that with all of this, is just to make sure, and I don't know where to fit this in, but with ongoing PD, that all of the staff are aware of these different things that you referenced, because, you know, you referenced is what I've heard too, and you referenced through all of your different things, but just making sure staff are aware of those things. And I know that Rham does a great job with that, but it's just, there's so much professional development in so limited time, so it's just making sure that that happens.
What I'm asking to get done is, it's not an easy task.
Right.
Certainly necessary, but not an easy task.
You've only been on board for a few months, too. I mean, it's a major campus. There's a lot of kids. There's a lot of transitional things, too, that you need to take care of. It's not just spending all day looking at the doors of walls and roofs and cameras and everything. I think that's the case with the people getting rolled over in the parking lots and accidents in the parking lots all the time. So what you're doing is fantastic work. And thank you for what you're doing and the effort you put into it. And, but, you know, we'll continue to work with you to support what you're doing and work with the administration to make sure that you know, the needs are one, we're all aware of, and two, we're working towards them.
Do you need anything right now from the board?
Nothing that I can think of. I'll tell you, everything that I ask for, or everything that needs to get done, all I do is ask, and Bob and Scott are, in fact, they bring stuff to me, we think about this, and you know what, I didn't think about that, but that's awesome. We collaborate very well, and I find that we give, when it comes to safety, it's paramount to get stuff done. Seems that way to me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Only along, only kind of received things from the budget to include security.
No, I'm all set, I don't need a raise.
Oh, good, guys.
I'll remember that.
You got that?
You can withdraw that motion. I'm always there.
One of the things we want to do for the next couple of months, because once we got our 8 years old, and they're all in on campus, and the community is on the issue.
Great. That brings us to item number 8. It's 9 o'clock, so just to remind everyone, reports, committee reports, athletic and extracurricular activities.
As quick as I can. Just one concern was whether we're gonna have a softball field we're gonna lose the softball field and possibly we'll lose it, not for this season, but next year, for the 12 months. We may not have one of our softball field. Hopefully we can get that resolved going into budget season. And it's really a facility, Dr. Zinsky issue. The same audience that was here was at our meeting too, so we got to hear that about coaches' positions. lots of reasons why, and they're in our heads.
Buildings and, I guess, buildings and facilities, sorry, is there a report for the facilities committee?
Joe's not here and he has minutes.
Oh, okay. When's the next meeting for this one? Was it said that, that's fine, that's communications, sorry, that's Dave, right? The communications.
I have something for communication.
Go ahead.
Okay. The webmaster has pretty much got the website set up and is still working on Facebook and Twitter feed. And, Bill Thompson of Blue Pages has been hired to redesign the web pages for the district Iowa schools. In other words, she's done some transferring of information, updated information, but she's gonna actually redesign it, and they're gonna try to get students involved with some of the artwork requirements. And we talked about the budget and how to present it this year, and we agreed that the small booklet we used last year as a one-page information sheet was summarizing and everything really was effective. We left copies, at various places in the towns and public areas, because they were great for using them. We went to talk to the senior citizens at the senior centers, so we're gonna repeat that. And, Dr. Kaminsky will present a proposed budget to the boards of finance in all three towns within the March timeframe. And there also is a selectman forum in Marlboro, and we're going to, we're reoccurrence to attend that as well. It's usually the fourth Tuesday, so it might be toward the end of March or April. Yeah, and, let's see, we also, there's something that I need to hand out to all of you. It's regarding communications regarding the referendum. There's there's a regulation public that governs what you can and cannot put out there. And it limits, it's limited to the fact that the regional board is the only entity that really is authorized to publicize information about the referendum. And it also clarifies, for example, that the use of public funds to advocate for approval or disapproval is not really approved. I know that it's not acceptable, but there are some third-party comments that, are always posted on social media, and those we don't have any jurisdiction over. You have to be careful of those, because you don't always get accurate information. So I'm going to pass this out so everybody on the board understands what the ground rules are. And also, this act is also noted in the minutes of meeting that are online for communications. And people who aren't,
I could ask a quick question.
yeah.
Around the budget time last year, there was conversations about having the budget separated from the capital improvement. Do you remember that? That we're gonna have it separate? And there was concern about the voters having enough time to learn about it and hear it and get used to that idea. Is there any communication that's being considered to go out to Marlboro particular? Because I think that you guys, it's different for you for some reason. I don't know what it was.
We don't have to.
But
Just a quick update on that, Marlboro, the local elementary school is possibly doing 2 this year.
okay.
So, we're hoping that will become available next month.
Okay. So there's no additional information that should go out to people about the street.
Well, I think the board would have to decide whether or not we're doing that, or we'll send that communication. So we would have to decide that in our budget. I guess we could probably decide that at our first budget meeting
Probably.
on the 27th. Maybe we can add that as a discussion.
My plan is to present the budget and then present some decision packages that have, capital is one of them, because I don't know if you want that in the budget or separate, so you able to see that. The question, you have athletic or full-time athletic director would be a decision package, so we can consider those, and then make whatever decision. I'd only say one thing, just remember that the issue of the state is quite simple, the reduction in state aid and the impact that that's going to have on the budget.
But the question of deciding on how we're going facilities, safety, transportation, is that different from building? Oh, the building is for the ADA, okay, there's,
Oh,
yeah, that's the ADA committee, sorry. You
yeah,
guys
and
did have
that's
a meeting.
Bruce, and we just reviewed what was submitted to the grant,
Mhm.
and, I think we'll find out more information on Friday.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to do much of anything at this point.
So what occurred during the facilities subcommittee?
Joe didn't complete the minutes on that online, and Joe has all the notes.
Here's the minutes of meeting. I checked them, I checked online.
Yeah, I just checked, they're not, a lot of this stuff.
So on finance, audit, compliance, and insurance, net, some of the items that we talked about, all the items that we talked about was the discussion on the audit. We also talked about the, whether or not we need a policy to address uncashed checks. So if the district issues a check to someone, what is that outcome? And so I think we're getting some sample ideas or thoughts, and we can come up with a sample policy, I think.
Well, for refunds, right?
For refunds of checks that go unclaimed or uncashed.
We have the policy for the classes.
I know for the classes, but
We
the
don't
one
get a
came up
policy
with.
for cafeteria funds that were left behind for graduates.
Right, but I think the idea was any checks, right? So if we write a check to someone, no one ever cashes it, regardless if it's a student or a vendor or a business, and it just goes on, and they don't ask to replace the check because it's lost. How do we address those checks that we've issued and never get cashed? And we just need some procedural. I think it was early on, I think you.
Yeah, no, so I didn't.
Let's see, we talked about the budget and the separation and that we'll have to take action as a board. A couple of the new business items that we came up with, we asked the superintendent to come up with a request for proposal for legal services for the district. Committee thought that it was a good time to revisit the legal relationship we have as a district and the services we need to go out with a full proposal to evaluate if what we have in place is sufficient. We're also going to have, which kind of triggered the email that Bob shared here today, is with the retiring bonds coming up in the next 2 to 3 budget cycles, I think. How do we prepare for that and anticipate that and tie that into some of the, if we decide to, some of the long-term planning needs for the district. We talked about some, like committees, for instance, facilities and curricular activities, and sports committees or athletics and extracurricular activities may have some recommendations to be considered as decision packages for the board to consider for the budget. So what we ask is that these committees, when they meet again before the budget, to make sure that the superintendent has all of the information so that we properly cost it out. So when we get the budget, some of the items that will be there aside from the operating budget, or so will be in for you there to consider will be any of these items that a committee might be recommending for consideration and what those costs. That's it for finance. Negotiations, I think we have a discussion tonight on negotiations, if I'm not mistaken. But there's also just a reminder of a meeting on February 16th. Policy, I don't think policy met,
Nope.
And then program. Program since the last time.
The meeting Monday night, or
Yeah.
Monday the 4th in
February.
February 4th is Saturday.
No,
Saturday.
The 6th?
You mean the 6th?
Yep.
The
on
6th, I'm
6th.
sorry.
On the 6th.
Okay, that brings us to facilitators. Rham Educational Foundation is Dave, he's not here. East Coast Judy, she's not here at the moment. Okay. Student rep. Sorry. I had my yellow note right here. Student representative reports.
Yeah, well, first off, I would just like to kind of say something that I just recently noticed. well, with my crutches, like I've been more aware of like the ground. And going into school, the main entrance, like the, not, like the main entrance, like with the cafeteria, the long, like with the benches and stuff, a lot of the sidewalk on that is really cracked. So I don't know if there's like anything that could be like any resource that could be done on that, or any, like, more, kind of like, that should be looked into, that's all. And also for my second point, I'd like to reiterate what I've been hearing by a lot of my peers and also by obviously a lot of community members and parents. For years, an indisputable connection has been shown between mental activity and exercise, and in recent years, there have been many studies that show student athletes and other actively involved young students achieve greater overall academic success. One may ask, how is this true when they have less time for their studies? So speaking from personal experience, I'm a student athlete, and I can tell you firsthand I'm a better student because I play sports. When I come home from practice at 6 o'clock, or when I come home at 2:45 knowing I have a practice or game later that night, I realize that I do not have time to procrastinate, and I have to be organized, and that I have to manage my time wisely. While many of my friends who do not play sports or who are not very involved come home with the goal of beating the next level on Call of Duty or texting their friends all night long, my goal is to make the most of my time, do my homework, study hard, so I can get to my practice or game on time. And this is just not my experience. This has been proven by many studies, and other student athletes here at Rham will tell you the same thing. There is a high degree of organization required to be successful at both sports and academics. Student athletes show a high level of personal drive, determination, motivation, and organization. Sports participation in a sport, on a team, or in an extracurricular activity improves the ability of students to manage time wisely. It also raises students' education aspirations, improves their overall commitment to schooling, and increases parental involvement in the school. Student athletes want to stay eligible and may even aspire to a sports scholarship, which all in turn increases their motivation. For student athletes, organization and time management skills are learned at a young age, and these skills allow these students to achieve success not only in high school, but in college and in the workforce beyond. However, a strong sports program is needed to entice and maintain player improvement. I'm a football player, and I've seen many students who love the sport quit playing due to perceived lack of attention. Football and all other sports need to be supported by the school administration and the Board of Education. Many of my fellow athletes and I believe that Rham athletics is inadequately funded. As you enter budget season, I urge you to dedicate more money towards athletics. It is critical for student success and academic achievement, and it also lends to a better overall high school experience for students. Please consider this while developing the budget and allocate the funds necessary to support the athletic programs and the student athletes at Rham.
Thank you very much. Maddie left?
Yeah.
Thank you. Chair report. Superintendent search, just a reminder, we have a meeting tomorrow night, and we have a meeting on February 11th, and I think you all have the details on those meetings, so we'll talk more about that tomorrow night. Follow up from the board retreat, you may recall we talked about looking and having ideas about the district mission, and if you have any thoughts or changes or for the mission, Joe O'Connor has decided to take those comments and put those together and manage that effort. So if you guys could send those comments so we can get a chance, that would be great. Items for the next agenda right now, I have Ms. Rapelier sent the conceptual proposal for moving to a bi-monthly meeting structure. Sue is going to be on the agenda to present the
I'm the only one that made
you're
suggestions.
the only one who made suggestions, so, which is not a bad thing. I'm glad you did it, because that's what we talked about. It's an important issue for everyone, so at least we have a model to begin with, and you can share that when we meet at our next meeting. Committee assignments, I haven't finalized the committee assignments. A lot of it has to do with the DOT grant and the ADA grant, or whatever's happened to that, but there's a lot of time and effort that's going to need to be committed to those projects, and I just want to make sure that we understand what that commitment is before I finalize them. I'm hoping to have that out to you by this weekend, because of the meeting on Friday. I should be able to get more information. And on that point, you had requested that I look into both grants. One of them was the ADA grant, which was awarded and then rescinded. And so I had a discussion with Senator Ostin last week about that. She has agreed to meet this Friday along with Representative Green and Senator Casano. And we're going to talk about what happened, why the statute is what it is, but then how do we somehow, some way try to address the concerns of the report without sacrificing or with the threat of federal funding being held over our heads. So hopefully we'll have a good discussion. I'll be able to come back with you on the report for that. And the DOT will also be discussed, mainly just in structure, just to confirm with her, which she's confirmed on the telephone for me, that the scope of the work that was included in the $1.3 million beta study, or BSC, sorry, is the framework for the scope of that grant. So we'll know more on Friday, and I'll be able to report back on that at our next meeting. And that's all I have for the chair report. So that brings us to action items. I need a motion for 9.1 to approve minutes from the December 19th, 2016 regular meeting, enclosure 9.1A, and December 19th, 2016 district meeting, enclosure 9.1B. Is there a motion? Motion made by Amy, second by Rich. Any discussion?
I have one thing. On page 6, item number 7,
Which
page 6.
which minutes? Sorry. Which one? Sorry.
Minutes on the last,
The district meeting or the regular?
The district?
regular meeting.
Regularly? Okay. What page now?
Page 6,
Okay.
item number 7. It said presentation. It says presentation, it says there are presentations made. I don't think there were any made, and I think that this was just kind of.
I think it's a typo. I think it should be, there were no presentations made.
Or there were no, or something.
Yeah, we didn't have any presentations at the last meeting.
But I-
Kathy, is that?
This was Karen, but I will say there were no
Yeah, I think
presentations.
that's just,
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure what the format was on the agenda, whether presentations was even on the agenda. I didn't really check that, but that's the one thing I can tell.
any other changes? Corrections? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Sorry, that gets us to action item 9.2, personnel actions, beginning with 9.2A. I need a motion that the Regional School District Number 8 Board of Education approve a leave of absence for Rebecca Curtin commencing approximately April 24, 2017, and running through the remainder of the 2016-17 academic year. Is there a motion? Motion made by Amy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Carol. Any discussion?
Can we just approve all these at once?
I think I have to read them each into the minutes, correct?
I think that if you.
Or can I just say, can I have a motion to accept them? Okay. All right, that's fine. That's, well then, I'll change the motion, and can I get a motion for the acceptance of the personnel actions and as described in items 9.2A for, Rebecca Curtin, and the 9.2B, for Kelsey Hamill, and then 9.2C for Kristen Lynch, 9.2D for Aaron Parody, in Louisiana it's Parody, so, and item number 9.2E, 9.2E for Mr. Block, and 9.2F for Mrs. Yorbeck, right? Is there a motion? So a motion made by Rich, is there a second? Second by Sue. Any discussion? None. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motions pass, or I guess a motion passes. Reports, I need a motion to receive reports, receive and file the following documents, student activity report 9.38. 9.3A, the 2016-17 budget status report. cafeteria report, curriculum instruction assessment and instructional technology report, you know I always smile on this, I love saying that, discipline report, and special education report. Motion made by Amy, is there a second? Second by Rich, any discussion? Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment on the curriculum instruction assessment and instructional technology report. I love it. I just wanted to make a comment about the community conversation that's coming up on February 15th about homework. And in the paragraph that talks about that homework is a concern and it's an ongoing concern, what I wasn't clear in here is that I think that there's some discrepancy about what is being assigned and what is appropriate, regardless of how long it takes the student. I'm really concerned, like, I've been having this conversation for 6 years now, and the February meeting will provide an opportunity for the parents to share those concerns. Like I said, I don't know that if the meeting is just to hear concerns, I'd like to see something change. And we've been having the conversation for so long. You're a researcher, Lauren, that's what you do. I don't think that we're thinking that we're off base about maybe what an appropriate limit would be. Really concerned about the fact that nothing has changed and that it's status quo, and it's like the meeting's gonna provide an opportunity to share those concerns. Well, these parents are getting frustrated. I'm frustrated. I've tried to stay out of it this year. But I'm just making a note that I'm not sure how the board can support the administration in reining in teachers about what is appropriate. My kid's putting 4.5 hours of homework is not okay. And it's been going on for years. So there's guidelines out there, there's research out there. I don't think that regardless of whether the parents like it or don't like it or whatever, it's more about what's appropriate. And I really hope that there can come something from this meeting, not just people sharing concerns.
I think that issue needs to go to the program and subcommittee meeting and make it an action item where we actually address that. Because we've been to the parents' meetings, we know exactly what's gonna happen. And we're not gonna resolve anything there.
That meeting is not to propose or make a change. That is for people to be able to tell us what they're thinking, for us to be able to say what we think, and we could certainly from that bring something to the program committee and then bring something to the board. But we have a lot of different opinions. We're going to be doing the climate survey again this year that we did 2 years ago. We will have in that some questions about it as well.
I'm gonna recommend the program, we come up
We're
with,
on questions of the report.
it's related, well,
Sorry, I'm just trying to keep.
You're right.
We're on 9:30, so it's not a discussion item. I'm sure it will be.
okay.
You can send an email to the committee if you want to make sure that they address it.
Can we at least make sure that that meeting that's talked about in that report is actually on our website? It isn't.
Which
Yeah,
one?
it should be.
The meeting on the 15th?
I'm kidding. It's not in our calendar and it's not on the website.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the reports? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the reports as submitted, say aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. 9.4, discussion possible action regarding 2017-18 budget calendar. I think, Bob, we're not going to take any action on that until we get a chance to straighten out
No,
the
that's
calendar.
fine. I think the idea that it's out there and then we can adjust it to count, we realize that.
And we may know tomorrow after meeting with the search consultants, what kind of leverage we have, and then we can let Kathy know so we can start figuring out the towns and what days and so forth.
The only thing I'd say is that towns, the meetings we have at towns are limited because certain days we meet at certain times. We really drive this stuff.
9.5, discussion and possible action regarding the 2017-18 academic calendar. So we need a motion to accept the the academic calendar as proposed in enclosure 9.5.
So moved.
Motion by Carol, is a second.
Second.
Second by Amy, any discussion? I only have one question, and I know it's the answer, is it coordinated with the elementary district?
Yes. And as I said, what we've done is we've tried to put a regional calendar together, and these calendars develop, there are some districts that have individual quirks, but, for example, the regional calendar ours is the same. Marlboro would be different because they have a different length of school year, and Andover is different because they have a different length of school year, and different professional development days, but the major vacations we've coordinated.
Thank you for doing that. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 9.6, discussion and possible action regarding budget transfers. Need a motion to authorize the transfers as described in enclosure, what is the official number this time? 'Cause I know it changed from. 6.6, enclosure 6.6, in the amount of $312,420.